And welcome back everybody to a special edition of the Crochet Crowd, and of course my friends at AllFreeCrochet.com are involved in this as well. And if more free patterns and ideas, you can also check out AllFreeCrochet.com after you watch me, of course. And what I am telling you today is that we are working with a YouTube celebrity. It's my very first ever YouTube celebrity that I got to partner with. And we're creating something, or recreating something, that appears on this celebrity's channel, which I'm very, very excited about. You know her, maybe you don't, and if you do, you know her as Jolene SugarBaker, and she is just a fabulous bake and cook, and she teaches you from a trailer park aspect. So she basically, anything I guess that we are doing is that we're trying to teach you how to crochet, and we're trying to teach you how to do stuff online on a budget. So, you know, it's all about trying to save the cash, and that's why I love her show. So I've been allowed to work with her, and we are going to be recreating the wristies that appear on her show. So thank you so much, Jolene, for this opportunity. And the purpose of these wristies are to keep her sleeves from hitting the food. So it seems so basic, but it's now become a part of her costume when she's actually performing on camera. So it's a really exciting idea. And so we're going to be recreating these wristies. So today, you are going to need a size J hook. You're going to need some fancy dancy scissors. You are going to need some stretchy jewelry cord, and it's clear, and it's clear. I was going to say clear and white, but I guess it can't be white if it's clear. And of course we're going to be using eyelash yarn. Now you'll notice that Jolene's are actually green. Couldn't find that around here. So I'm thinking about a budget. This ball was only $1. This thing was only $1, the stretchy jewelry cord. The crochet hook I already had, so basically $2, you got the materials, and then you can make a gazillion of these little wristies. So what a wonderful opportunity. Stand by as we begin to teach you how to make the Jolene SugarBaker wristies. And welcome back everybody, and let's review. So we have the stretchy jewelry cord. You can get that at dollar stores or retailers, you know, any generic retailer I guess. You need some fancy dancy scissors, and you're going to need some eyelash yarn. And when we look at the eyelash yarn, it's really fuzzy, so that provides a really cool look when you're actually working on this project, so you won't actually see your stitches, just like so. And you will need a size J hook, and these are just in from my artist, Lori Mueller from Alberta, Canada, and she customizes the handles to be of different ideas, and she works with really specialized materials in order to make this all happen. And I like this bottom one, it says hook me up. So we're going to use a size J hook today, and let's get started on this free tutorial, and thank you to AllFreeCrochet.com. Now, like any regular tutorial, I can't use this just stuff to film with because it's impossible to see the stitches, so I'm going to be using a generic, and this is the Bernat Super Value yarn. So I'm just going to wrap it around my finger twice to create a slip knot, taking the back over the forward, and then taking that one and putting it over and slipping in my hook and pulling it snug. So what I want to do is I want to do a chain, and I happen to know that when I did it this way is that 25 chain actually did wrap around my wrist. So what you want to do is get the chain to wrap completely around your wrist without having to really force it to stretch. Okay, so you want a little bit of stretch but nothing too severe. So let's count off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, 21, 22, and I told you I need 25, but what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to put it around my wrist. So I'm just going to pull that out a little bit and put it around your wrist and see how far that's going to go around. Okay, so actually in fact that will reach if I pull it snug, so what I'm going to do is stop right there. And this yarn is a bit different from the eyelash yarn, so you want to have it so that it does stretch a little bit, because if they equal up and there's no stretch, then this bad boy won't have any stretch. So let's begin the next part of this tutorial. So in the next section here we want to start single crocheting our way back through the line. So I want you to go to the second from the hook. So this is the first, go to the second, slipping in your hook in to that and pulling it through, and then through 2, and that's a single crochet, as everybody remembers. And if you don't remember, that is a new step for you. So just going into the stitch, working your way along, pulling it through, and then 2. So we're just going to work our way doing it. So this is not complex at all, so if you want to continue the rest of this tutorial without having to listen to me, what I want you to do is I want you to do this 4 times. So just go back and forth until you've done it 4 times, if that makes any sense. Okay, so if you don't know how to, or if you want to work with this project with me, just stay tuned here, and we'll just keep working our way, single crochet ourselves all the way down to the end. Okay, a lot of people do get confused on where the end is of this project, so that might be a reason why you want to hang out with me, or you just want to hear me just count them off as they go, or chit chat as we work along. So I'm really happy to be able to provide this tutorial with working with Jolene. It's been something that's been working in the last 2 months, and you know, she's been a very busy person wandering around the United States doing interviews and stuff, so it's really quite a privilege to work with somebody in the YouTube that has just as much viewership as I do, so it's really exciting. So we're just going to single crochet our way. Now if this was the eyelash yarn, you probably wouldn't be working as quickly as I'm doing right now. It does require you to really keep your eyes on to where the stitches are, and it's pointless for me to teach you using the eyelash yarn because you cannot see the stitches anyway. So coming into the very final stitch here, okay, just like so, and you're done. So that was considered 1. Okay, so what I want you to do is let's just turn this around and chain up 1, and we want to go right into the very end one. So right, do you see that there? Right in there, and we want to single crochet our way back across. Now Jolene SugarBaker, her actual bracelet is 100% stretchy cord, and so what we have here is that we have the yarn, but the eyelash yarn that you have, there's absolutely no play to it, there's no stretch at all, and you know, she may be having a specialized bracelet that she's been able to pick up somewhere. So what we're doing to compensate for that is we're doing a bracelet that nearly matches your wrist, that has a bit of stretch to it, and then what we're going to do is we're going to apply the jewelry cord afterward to provide the final stretch so that it doesn't go out of whack. Is that most of us know that when you crochet something, once it stretches, it never comes back unless you crocheted a special rib into it or something. So this is a really great way to really keep its elasticity, and if it loses its stretch, you can always apply more cord afterward as well to be able to pull it tighter. So this is going into the very edge, and that was number 2. So I want you to do that 2 more times, everybody, and we'll meet back up and I'll show you what to do next. So that's what it looks like without it being with all the eyelash yarn. So do it 2 more times and we'll meet back up when we'll start to apply the jewelry cord. We're now at the very end, and if you want to go 1 more, so this is actually, so there's 1 line that's a chain, and then 4 more times where it's single crocheted, and you can see that the thickness is matching. So I think hers might be actually a little bit thicker, so you can make a thicker bracelet based on what you want. So I'm going to stop here, and what I want to do is that I want to cut this so that it's about 1 foot long. Okay, so cut the extra string so you have about 1 foot long, as we want to use that, and that's probably way too generous, but I'm going to do it anyway. So now I just want to pull the hook out just like so, and now pull it snug. So just leave it as is, and now it's time to get our jewelry cord. And what we're going to do now is just to be able to work it into both of the seams on both sides to give it the stretch to go around your wrist. So let's do that next. Okay, so I understand that the jewelry cord is very difficult to see, but what we want to do now is that we want to be able to weave that jewelry cord into the actual edging of your project. Okay, so just take it, just create a loop. Okay, you're not actually going to be able to tie it very successfully out the very beginning, so just tie it, just put a loop and just start pulling it through. And what I want you to do is just like you were going to finish off a crochet project, I just want you to weave that cord in and out of the seam line. Okay, and again, I do understand that that's very difficult to see. So what I'm going to do is, you'll have to trust me, and what I want you to do now is to weave this in and out, okay, on this side, and then I want you to do it again on the other side, so down here. Okay, and so as you can see here, the cord you can barely see. I'm hoping you can catch it on the camera, but when you have the eyelash yarn, because it's transparent, it matches the color of the yellow or the green or whatever color you want to use, therefore it becomes invisible. So it's a great idea to create the stretch without ever having to see anything going on. So let's do that. So just go on both sides. I don't want you to tie it closed. I just want you to weave it in so that when we go to do the next part that we'll be ready to finalize the stretch. Okay, so now at this point we have it now weaved in and out on both sides, and they're not tied shut. As you can see, they're just loose there. And so now what we want to do is that you're going to look at it and say, is there a good side or a bad side? There shouldn't really make any difference, but what we want to do now is decide that, but now pull these things shut. Okay, so let's get these out of the way. And so put it so that the straggler section of this is over on the far right, just like so. And now just I want to get these little wires out of here, and I want to sew the shut. So what I'm going to do, stick my hook through both, now grabbing the straggler piece, pulling it through, and now just go into the next section of it. And what we want to do is we're just creating like a seam, like a slip stitch idea to sew this together. It's kind of a lazy way of doing it. You could have used a darning needle as well, but I don't do that. So not on this. I do it in some projects, but not on this. So now I'm just going to go through, and so make sure you go right to the very end. Bring it through and through. Okay, and so now what I want to do now is just trim this nicely, so over my hand like I normally would with your fancy dancy scissors. I'm coming up, and now you just want to weave that back through the seam that you just created in order to hide it. Okay, nothing's worse than hanging on our projects hanging with thread. Okay, so in actual fact where the seam is being created is actually the inside of the bracelet now, so that you will never see this when you turn it the other way. And especially with the eyelash yarn, it's going to be very forgiving anyway. Of course, going right into the very edge piece. And again, I just want to hide it. That's all I'm doing here. Just like so. Now I want to pull it snug, just like so. And now I'm just going to trim that piece by itself. Okay, so I don't want you to trim any of the cording yet. And now we just got to locate all the cords. So this cord matches to that cord. This cord over here is there. So in actual fact, this is the inside. So this one here, I want to pull through so it's coming out onto the same side of the bracelet, which will be on the inside. And now just try it on and make sure that it actually fits. Just like so. Okay, so that's good. And now what we want to do is just grab the one cord and the other cord on the other side, and we want to pull it so it's got some stretch. So just keep pulling it just like so, and you'll see it a little bit wrinkle up. Okay, so don't be afraid to pull that. And this cord also is kind of slippery, I find, or the rubber doesn't want to stick to your hands very well. But you just got to make sure you do keep the tension on it. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do that off camera. I just needed to put my elbow down on it. So we want to have it so that it's got a little bit of a stretch to it. And I'll keep going at that, and then we'll come right back. Okay, so off camera I just tied them, and I just want to cut these. Maybe they're about 3/4 of an inch long, and because there's eyelash yarn, you'll never see it in that. Okay, so then what's going to happen here is that the cord now is going to act like a stretch. Okay, so let's turn this inside right. Okay, just like so. And again, making sure you trim off any stragglers. Now this is the beginning one, so we do want to weave a little bit of that in, because if we trim it right there, it's going to make it unravel. So do weave that in using the weaving technique. And again, just trim that on the inside, just like so. And voila, now you'll have a Jolene SugarBaker Wristies. So you just want to put it on. Okay, so you want it to remain somewhat tight, but you don't want it to the point where you're actually going to cut off your circulation. And yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea, and you can just put it around your sweaters and go to town. So thank you so much, Jolene SugarBaker, for sharing this pattern with us. And on behalf of myself, thecrochetcrowd.com, and as for AllFreeCrochet.com, we wish you all a very great day. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you later.